we're going to explore how we find the weather in the UK and Australia. Some of the comparisons may really surprise you. Over to you, Bonnie.
Yes, one of the main reasons we moved to Australia was for a warmer climate. The temperature of a country is largely dictated by its latitude or distance from the equator. The closer you are to the equator, the closer you are to the sun. So where would the countries end up if you were to somehow move Australia north and the UK south and flip them? The result really surprised us, so we will show you this visual later, which shows the temperatures you can expect between the two countries. There was a key reason for us moving to Australia. You may have guessed from my accent that I come from the northeast of Scotland, which is a beautiful part of the world. In my youth, I spent years hill walking and loved being outdoors, but I did find the winters harsh and it took a toll on my health. Without fail, I would get a nasty cold, which would develop into a chest infection when the temperatures dropped, hence our move to a warmer climate. So how does Australia's weather compare to the UK? From our personal perspective and experiences, we have averaged out the temperatures for all the seasons, as not every year is the same, and given Australia is a huge continent, the climate does vary. Roughly, all year round, the Sydney region is approximately 8 degrees Celsius or 44 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than London. Summer here starts at the beginning of December to the end of February, and it can get quite hot. We tend to stay out of the sun from around 11 a.m. to 3 p.m, as the shade is a lot more comfortable. On rare days, the mercury has hit highs of between 30 to 40 degrees Celsius, which is a tad too hot. Many people will go to the beach regardless and cool down in the sea. To be sun safe, you have to make sure you are properly protected by wearing sunglasses, sunscreen, a hat, and best of all, long-sleeved UV clothing. Christmas in Australia is totally opposite to the UK. Here we'd either go to a friend's place or the beach, grill prawns on the barbecue, eat salads and have a swim. Whereas I do miss the coziness of being snuggled indoors, log fire burning and the enjoyment of a traditional Christmas meal. The Sydney Festival is held in the summer, and this is great fun with pop-up events, outdoor theatres and a hive of outdoor and indoor activities. Our favourite season is autumn, which runs from the beginning of March to the end of May. There isn't the intense heat of summer, nor the coolness of winter. Sydney holds its vibrant, colourful, vivid festival in autumn. The cooler evenings perfectly complements this event. Winter starts at the beginning of June to the end of August. You may be surprised to know that in Kosciuszko National Park, New South Wales, there are numerous ski resorts which cater for all levels. Yes, Australia does have snowfall and the skiing season runs from June to October. The region is called the Snowy Mountains, which the Aussies affectionately abbreviate to the snow. They are going to the snow. Many Australians have Christmas in July to replicate the Northern Hemisphere's Christmas. The City to Surf Coastal Run is one of the most popular fun runs in the world, attracting over 80,000 participants each winter. The 14-kilometre route starts from the city centre of Sydney and finishes at Bondi. We have taken part over 10 times as it's such a great party atmosphere. Spring runs from the beginning of September to the end of November, and although not quite as warm as autumn, as the chill of winter lingers in the air and it is still lovely. Sculptures by the Sea takes place on the coastal walk from Bondi to Tamarama every spring. The lovely weather and perfect settings makes this for a beautiful day out. Bushfires are a fact of life in Australia and generally start after a drought followed by extreme hot weather. Bushfires happen every few years. They were particularly bad in New South Wales in the summer of 2019. At that time, we lived in an outer Sydney suburb completely surrounded by bush in the Ku-ring-gai National Park, about 40 kilometres or 25 miles from the city centre. The fires got quite scary as the front came within 10 kilometres of our home. Our local sports oval was used as a base for the large sky cranes and other helicopter water bombers, which doused the fire with large volumes of water taken from the rivers. In the cooler months, as a preventative measure for bushfires, controlled burnbacks are scheduled to defuel the high-risk areas. The bush is an Australian term used for a forested area. In suburbs prone to bushfires, you will find warning signs which show the ranges of a fire risk from low to extreme. Flooding also happens in Australia, but we haven't had any first-hand experience of this. But we have seen over the years that floods happen in the UK too. So what about the rain? This is one thing we found surprising, as when it rains here, it rains. We jokingly say it is warm rain compared to cold rain in Scotland, which in frosty conditions equates to snow. The shift in the weather patterns is driven by the La Nina and El Nino ocean currents that determine how wet or dry a season will be. We are not qualified to speak on them, so please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. One big advantage of living in such a sun-drenched country is that we and many other Australians have solar panels to generate our own electricity. As we have also installed a battery, we can power both our home and our electric car for most of the year. Any excess power we don't use is fed back into the grid. So where will Australia and the UK end up if we were to change their hemispheres and longitudes just for fun? The climate is extremely complex and latitude is not the whole story. Australia is a huge continent, and the tiny island of Tasmania, which is off the mainland of Victoria, is far further south than Cornwall. Sydney is closest in latitude to Greece, therefore it has a similar climate to the Mediterranean. Also, if we moved the mainland UK and Ireland to the southern hemisphere, it would actually lie further south than the southern tip of New Zealand. Fortunately for the UK, the jet stream makes it milder than places at similar latitudes, but it does indicate what the weather will be like in comparison with Australia. We love life in Australia, and the weather plays a huge part in why we enjoy living here so much, as we can spend most of the year outside. We hope you have enjoyed our brief weather comparison, and we thank you for watching Lewis and Bonnie's Australia.